You're watching Triple Threat Sports.
And cheerleaders. Let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Triple Threat Sports. Well, the big story in the sports world in recent times has been the saga of LA Clipper owner Donald Sterling. Up until this period, he was basically known as a cheapskate owner who basically ran a franchise into the ground consistently. The Clippers have never been a good team for most of his tenure as owner. But as everyone knows now, he was recorded with his consent. He's admitted that he knew he was being recorded. Apparently it was part of his work environment that people would record conversations with him. He was recorded making racist remarks to a employee who was also probably his mistress. And in short order, the mistress probably, or the employee, probably as a way to extort him, or for revenge or for bitterness, whatever the case would be, released this tape. And apparently she has a lot more, maybe 99 hours, 100 hours more of recorded Donald Sterling. She released this tape to TMZ, that trash website. It's public. Sponsors threatened the league with canceling their sponsorships or pulling out funding. The commissioner then immediately banned Donald Sterling for life, and has said he will force the sale of the Clippers to a different ownership group or a different owner. Now, the legality of that sale, that forced sale, hasn't been worked out yet. But everyone can pretty much say Donald Sterling is finished as an owner in the NBA. And, well, it's a shame that in 2014 we have to sort of state the obvious, but we will. What Donald Sterling said is abominable. It's ignorant. It's bigoted. Stupid. You name it. No excuse for him saying it. And also he has a history of, in the 80s, he actually settled a case out of court of a housing discrimination suit that was against him and his partners in some real estate they owned out in California. So he has a history of this. So it's come out. I mean, people should have known about it all along, but it's come out now that he's a racist and he's finished. However, you can't look at it that simply, in my opinion, because, for one, well, you can simply look at it that if you feel Donald Sterling shouldn't be an owner in the NBA anymore, that's perfectly justifiable. I would agree with that myself. I'm glad he's not an owner in the NBA. He's not going to be an owner in the NBA. That's something to celebrate. However, there's a few precedents in here. There's a few issues in here that kind of sneak out. For one, I mean, he was recorded with his consent, but he probably in his mind, and again, he's an old man, he's 80 years old, he probably thought it was a private conversation. I'm not sure how fond I am about having a private conversation that was recorded, even with my consent, and I probably wouldn't, for that reason, I probably wouldn't record myself saying anything. I'm not sure how I'd feel if that was used to, basically destroy my livelihood, not my livelihood, he's a very rich man, but destroy my ownership of a team, or get me fired from my job, or what have you. And certainly his mistress, employee, the woman who dropped the bomb on him, she can't come out of this, she doesn't come out of this looking good either. I mean, let's face it. I'm sure she has in mind that she'll write a book and she'll eventually do the talk show circuit, etc. But it sounds like she doesn't come out well. But here's the main thing is that ultimately it's been very easy, especially and the sponsors, and the reason why he was banned from the league is that the sponsors threatened to pull out. I mean, this is not a black and white issue, this is a green issue. It's very easy for sponsors and for commissioners to hang an owner out to dry who deserves it. But again, it's very easy. Hypothetically, what if tomorrow we wake up and the trashy website TMC, what if they actually have tape of a player, a top player in the NBA or any sport, but we'll stick to the NBA here, whether a top player like LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony or Chris Paul or that is correct? No, never mind. Chris Paul or Kevin Durant. I mean, I'm just naming names here. What if a top player in the league finds themselves in the same position? A woman, a mistress, an employee, somebody tapes them and publicly exposes them for having bigoted views of anything, homophobia, anti-Semitism, what have you. Is that player going to be suspended for life from the league? I mean, obviously there's a players' union involved with players, so the legal issue there is more obvious, I suppose. But even theoretically, will that player be suspended for life from the league? It's hard to see that happening. And the reason is, again, green. Ultimately, as a players, every time there's a CBA, there's a collective bargaining dispute between players and owners, players always make the same point. And it's a correct point. Players make the money. People pay to see players. People don't pay to see owners. Players are the main ingredient in sports, and that's an obvious point. Players are more important than owners. Yes, yes, and yes. So, will a player be banned for life? The players who make the money? Will LeBron James and all the money he brings to the sport from his merchandise and ticket sales and TV money, etc., will the league and even we as a society, are we willing to sacrifice money for a greater principle, a greater anti-racist, anti-bigoted principle? Will we be willing to do that? And it's hard to see that. That's what rubs me the wrong way about this Donald Sterling business. Donald Sterling, even though he was an owner and he's, again, a very rich man, people didn't pay to see Donald Sterling. No one even knew who Donald Sterling was, hardly, before this whole thing. Owners don't make the money for the sport. Owners don't get the attention in the same way players do, certainly. And it's easy to get rid of them and just have another owner. Force a sale, have another owner. If they can do it legally, okay, you do it. It doesn't affect anything. Players affect things. Principle only matters in any context when there's sacrifice on its behalf. If the league and if we as a society and we as individuals are willing to say, I'll sacrifice my bottom line, willingly, I'll sacrifice my self-interest for a greater principle, then it matters. In this case, in the Donald Sterling case, that's not happening. Whatever happens with him, there's no sacrifice involved. Would it happen if a player does it? I'm skeptical, and that's what's depressing about this whole thing. Thank you. How was that?
That was good.
How was that, sweetie?
Sounds good.
Yeah.